Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Square Wave 2. I'm not in the workshop today. I'm in my office, which is immediately above the workshop, and I thought I would take this opportunity to show you how I have set up my shortwave listening station. I don't have a lot of room on my desktop. It's mostly taken up with the computer monitor and keyboard, mouse pad, etc. So what I did was build a carpenter's version of a radio rack. Carpenter's version of a radio rack. It's made out of half-inch plywood, nicely finished, and it really resembles a small bookcase. However, it was specifically designed to hold my two shortwave listening radios. On top we have the Grundig Satellit 750, and on the bottom we have the famous and revered Kenwood 1000 shortwave radio. And on the side of my bookcase radio rack is a good place to store two sets of headphones. One set for the Grundig and one set for the Kenwood. My antenna is just a simple long wire antenna, also called an inverted L, and it's about 75 feet long and about 25 to 30 feet off the ground, strung across my backyard. The lead comes in and goes directly to this simple two-position knife switch. And this allows me to do some interesting comparisons between the two radios. Here's my antenna lead-in from my outdoor antenna. It goes to the center terminal of this knife switch. When the knife switch is in the up position, the antenna is connected to the Grundig. And when it's in the down position, the antenna is connected to the Kenwood. If I want to disconnect the antenna from both radios, I simply put the knife switch in this position. Now neither radio has an antenna, which gives me an opportunity to do some interesting comparisons. When my knife switch is in the off position and neither radio is connected to an antenna, I can do a kind of comparison test to see which receiver is the more sensitive. First, I go to the Grundig on shortwave and tune in a barely audible signal, something I can just barely read. And then I go to the Kenwood and try to find the very same signal. Now keep in mind, neither radio has any kind of antenna attached. Then I can compare the two radios to see which one performs the best with no antenna. Absolutely no antenna of any kind. And which one do you think is the more sensitive radio? Well, it's the Kenwood. Kenwood is the more sensitive by far, according to my comparison test. Now, for the Grundig, I will have to give the Grundig some credit. It does have superior sound quality, very good audio. It must have a much better speaker, and also it has separate bass and treble tone controls, which is really nice when you're listening to music on FM. The Grundig Satellit 750 is the most versatile of the two. It receives broadcast AM, FM, shortwave, longwave, and even an aircraft band. It has a keypad where you can enter any frequency you want to go to. You don't have to set a band switch first and then crank a tuning knob around until you get where you want to go. In fact, the Grundig has no band switch at all. Shortwave is continuous in one giant band from 1.7 megacycles up to 30 megacycles. It also stores 1,000 of your favorite frequencies, a feature I don't really need. The Grundig will also run beautifully on 4D cells, great for emergencies. And to top it all off, here we have a directional AM antenna. The Kenwood does have a band switch and 29 bands, each one covering a megacycle, plus a little more for some overlap. It was made in Japan between 1979 and 1985. It sold for $430 to $499. It was so advanced for its time that it is still a valuable and very useful piece of equipment today. I sure like having something not made in China. Controls are simple and straightforward. Band switch. This is RF attenuation, which cuts down the strength of the RF signal. Here's the combination, volume and tone, main tuning, noise blanker, dimmer. Here's the meter for signal strength. Up here you would have your digital frequency readout. which you see now, power switch, timer button, headphone jack. This radio, of course, has a built-in clock and also a built-in timer. You can set it to start and stop anytime you want. Years ago when these radios first came out, I bought one and I enjoyed it for a couple years. But finally, it had an accident. It fell off my table and landed upside down on the floor with a terrific crash. Well, I was really afraid the end had come. I was almost afraid to try the radio. But I plugged it in, fired it up, and sure enough, the Kenwood 1000 operated perfectly, none the worse for wear. These are really little gems of a radio. I bought the Kenwood about 3 or 4 weeks ago on eBay, and I bought it from a man who indicated that he was a licensed radio operator, a ham. Now this is exactly the person you want to be buying a used receiver from. A ham knows how a radio should operate, understands all the functions, and if the ham tells you the radio has no issues, it's in good condition, you can pretty well believe that it does have no issues and it is in very good condition, as my radio was. Another nice thing about this particular Kenwood is that it came with the original owner's manual. Not a copy, not a reproduction, but the original manual that came from the factory packed with the radio. The original owner, the first owner, has made some notes inside. His name and address appears on the back, which I won't give you. And on the front he has penciled in new January 26, 1982. Now the fact that this manual has survived along with the radio for over 30 years tells me something. It tells me that this radio was always taken care of, given tender loving care, it was respected and prized, and the owners were very happy to have such a fine receiver. Does anyone remember Donald Trump on the campaign trail when he said, quote, "I'm going to replace Obamacare with something much, much better"? Well, it's not happening. Apparently the healthcare issue, along with the office of the presidency itself, are much more demanding and complex than Mr. Trump imagined. I don't think that being CEO of a giant corporation is really adequate preparation to be President of the United States. And now about his first 2 executive orders banning travel, both of which ended up in the courts to see if they were even constitutional. How could a president make such a blunder? When you're President of the United States, knee-jerk solutions just don't cut it. And how about the Great Wall of Mexico, the wall that is going to cost multiple billions of dollars to construct? Well, on the campaign trail, Mr. Trump assured us that Mexico is going to pay for it. We have nothing to worry about. Mexico will pay for it. But now, of course, that he's president, he tells us that we taxpayers would have to pay for it initially, and at some future date he'll be able to recoup it from Mexico. He will get reimbursed. However, he gives no even possible hint as to how this can happen, what he plans to do. And of course Mexico says we're not going to pay for that effing wall, and I don't see any reason why they should. But hey folks, let's not judge him prematurely. Let's give the president a chance. Let's wait and see what happens. He may actually turn out to be the finest president this country has ever had. He might turn out to be another Abe Lincoln. Of course, everyone is entitled to a few mistakes, a few blunders, even the President of the United States. So let's wait and see. Okay, folks, that's all for now. Keep that hate mail and those death threats coming. I really get a kick out of them. So long for now.